Welcome to our Mindset Mondays, where we discuss the mental side of trading. Quiet as it's kept, most traders, especially new traders, jump into the market and they really don't understand how difficult this thing really is. They're, doughy eyed, as they say, very excited to trade in the market, but they're soon met with so many challenges of the mind and ill prepared to attack them. So, this is what our Mindset Mondays discussion is about. We pair that also with our back pocket knowledge, just short drops here and there, short digital drops, so you can uh, use this information during your trading for just little tips and whatnot to help you get to your next level. All right. So, today our topic is something that every trader will have to go through, and you'll need to have a plan of action for. And I'm going to give you a plan of action today. The topic is I'm gaining success in my day trading. Now what? Has this ever happened to you? Have you been able to string together some successful trades or some successful days or some successful weeks or some successful months? And then all of a sudden, one day, you just take on a barrage of poor trades and losses. And before you know it, you're back to square one. You've cut your account by half or 20% or whatever the case is. And then you get nervous. You start to sweat all these things, right? Now, some of the more skilled traders, who even in the early stages, they're gonna recognize that and they're gonna throttle themselves and they're gonna stop. They're gonna stop. They're gonna say something's wrong. But then they start trading again the next day and they're still taking losses and they can't really understand what's happening. Has that ever happened to you? Or maybe this has happened to you. You've come into the Discord. This happens. I've seen this quite a bit. Traders are so excited to trade in this Discord or trade with me and in the group, and they find success immediately. A lot of times, they apply the best practices, apply the training, and boy, before you know it, they're off to the races. Wins after wins. I can see the excitement. I see them posting 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 4 for 4, 5 for 5. Man, I haven't had a red day in 6 days, 6 weeks. Before you know it, it's been months. And then all of a sudden they hit a brick wall and take a loss, and then another, and then another. And it's like, what is happening? Has that ever happened to you? All right. Well, you've reached some success, or we could say you've hit the first stair, the first step in getting better in the market, right? Now, the first step, obviously, is a composite step, and it includes getting training. And so you've gotten the training, and now you're seeing yourself turn the corner, right? And you're stringing together successful trades back to back and successful weeks. You're probably leaning into your edge. You've probably done a trade identity. We've talked about all of these in the Mindset Mondays. You can find that on podcasts and on YouTube, right? But now what? How do you keep this thing rolling to the tune of consistency and profitability without sustaining major losses now, right? I am going to give you a few tips in this discussion, some things you can do to kind of check yourself as you go. These are the same tips I give myself, and many of you guys, as you see me trade, as you hear me trade, I'll tell you, you can hear me. You can hear me say things like, my trade frequency is a little high right now. I'm gonna dial myself back. I'm gonna throttle myself. I'm gonna pull back a little bit. I'm going to get some tea. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a phone call. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Whatever it is to take me away from the market for a moment, get your mind right, so that I am not in a position where I allow these poor practices to even rear their ugly heads. So you've heard me say it, right? You've heard me do those things. All right. Well, what else am I doing? And what else can you do in order to maintain a successful track record? Now, let's be clear. Every trader takes losses. I'm no different. You're no different. Every trader will lose from here to there. So part of this thing is going to be expectations. So before we really break down, you could say the 5 items that I'm going to give you, we're going to talk about expectations. And a lot of times, the reason why a trader is thrown off their rocker, so to speak, or thrown off base when they start to get some losses is because they have improper expectations. They really were never prepared to lose. If we're being honest with ourselves, I think that happens to everybody. When you get into the market, you think of the potential of winning, and boy, oh boy, it's just incredible. Yet you think you're different than everybody else. I know, I know. Don't worry, it happened to me too. You're like, no, 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 no. I'm not gonna lose like these other jabronis. Has that ever happened to you? Right. The reality is that's having false expectations. Right. You soon realize that, you know what, I'm just like everybody else, and I've got to learn just like everybody else. So the first thing is really setting proper expectations and planning for a loss. What plan do you have for a loss? What plan do you have for a loss? When you take a loss, what's your rule set? Now, you know, I'm big on trade identities. I'm big on trade rule sets and disciplines, right? These repeated actions every single day in trade helps you get to the next level, right? Helps you get to the next level. So the question is, well, what's your plan for a loss? Will you step away for 15 minutes? Will you cut your day short, or will you cut your day at 2 or 3 losses? Will you take a break? Will you size down? Whatever the case is. So under the umbrella of setting expectations comes our 5 steps we want to do, we want to use to gain success in your day trading over the long haul, right? After you've built up your systematic approach and you're now reaching some success, now what do? All right. So first, set proper expectations and have a rule set for losses, right? Have a rule set for losses. Now, I'll tell you one of my rules for losses. Okay, so today I'm 5 for 5 on the market. I've done some weekly recaps or some trade recaps, and I'm gonna do another one at the end of this sometime throughout the week, and I'm going to show you guys what a 3, 4, 5 day snapshot. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know that I'm already just over the last couple of days, I'm over 6 figures. And so I think it's important for people to see that, right? You can see the proof, you see the call outs, you see the trades, you see the screenshots, you see it all, right? You see the wins and the losses. So I think it's very important for people to see that when you're making money in the market, you're not necessarily looking to hit those home runs. You're looking to hit base hits and set yourself up and or be ready for home runs. If you hit enough base hits, you hit a home run once or twice throughout the week, month, or year. All right. So my expectations are, all right, I'm taking my trades to my targets. Now, some folks may say, when they first come into the Discord, they may think it may look like I'm scalping. And I will even tell you when I'm scalping, but that's not my intention. My intention, whether my target is 30 cents, 50 cents, $1, $2 away, I'm taking it to my target. And I have a set of rules that tells me to exit prematurely or not. If it turns into a scalp, it turns into a scalp. All of that falls under the umbrella of expectations, right? I'm not expecting this thing necessarily, unless I get the strength and volume and et cetera, for this thing just to rocket, right? So that's just something personally that I do, right? For my expectations, number one, I'm going to respect my levels. The levels are so important and so powerful. They're so powerful. They keep you dialed in and focused and give you a specific target on where you need to go. And it's up to you to demonstrate discipline and not let greed creep in to go past. But you and I, if you've been trading in our Discord for any amount of time, you and I know, let me know if you're listening to this, let me know, have you seen that we respect the levels? Have you seen that the stock, as it moves around and dances, sometimes to the penny? Have you seen that? Yeah. Well, that keeps me dialed in. That keeps my expectations at a reasonable level and allows me to come out of the day profitable and win, right? And so obviously those who are listening to this at this time and you know, you've seen the post there, you know that I'm just for the day, right? Just for the day, I've already locked in some nice profits. So the first thing is expectation. That's the overarching theme of what do you do going forward? How do you manage what's coming around the corner? How do you prevent a barrage of losses after you've been on a tear and a rip of just excellent trades? You got to set proper expectations. Then I'll give you these 5 tips. Now, these are the 5 tips that I use to keep me really dialed in. to keep me from going on these tears or barrages of losses like many traders. So the first thing is I throttle myself. Number one, I've got a plan to throttle myself. What do I mean? When I'm going on a rip, I know, especially in this environment now, I'm training people. I'm in the Discord. It's live, so there can be a level of excitement there that I wouldn't normally have, quite frankly. Right? I mean, think about it. If you're trading by yourself in your room, in your office, wherever, you're by yourself. Nobody's there to know how much you made, right? So it's not really exciting to share that with anyone. You just, okay, it's like a job. You do it and you're done. You're done. But when you're sharing your successes and your failures, you got community, then emotions can come into play. So I know that. And even when I'm by myself, I know that. So I use the same pattern. Now I throttle myself. I say, okay, I'm on a tear. I'm winning. I'm 8 trades straight, wins. And these trades are anywhere from 20% to 100%. That is substantial. Now I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to throttle myself down. Either I'm done for the day or I'm going to take a break. That break could include doing some other work for other businesses, spending time with the family, going to get some lunch, going to get a walk, take a walk, whatever. I'm going to throttle myself. That'll allay my emotions. In addition to that, I'm going to throttle the trade. I'm going to say to myself, all right, I know my trade identity. And I know that if I'm going to pump out 30, 35 trades a week, and I got 10 trades in a day and it's Monday, whoa, what's going on? Either this isn't going to be a monster of a week or I am dialed up too much. My frequency is too high, right? So with that being said, I make sure that I govern myself, right? I make sure that I throttle my trade frequency and my time in front of the screen. Number 2, as stated before, I've got a checklist. I have a checklist for successes and a checklist for failures. Now, at this frequency, the checklist is in my head, and it used to be written down. And if I search somewhere, on my computer, in my journal somewhere, I'm sure I could find my old checklist. And if I find it, I'll post it inside the Discord for the Killer Whales. But the checklist are things that I need to make sure I check before I take the next step. So, for example, I've got a plan of action checklist, plan of action for if I'm on a tear, if I'm just like ripping this thing up, and I mean, I'm up big. I've got a plan of action for when I'm coming up on 6 figures for the day. I've got a plan of action. I've got a plan of action when I break 50K for the day. I've got a plan of action. Normally, I'm going to sit anywhere from low 5s to mid 5s for the day. That's a normal day for me. Somewhere around that 25, 30 on the average, up to 50-ish, right? That's going to be based on my position size, based on my trade count. So once I start to break my average for the day, something's going on. Something good is happening, but either the market is cooking, either my holds are on point, my entries are on point, the size is there, the volume is there, something. And so I need to say to myself at that point, all right, what's going on here, right? Are you over trading, or is the market just giving you these layups? Once I identify what's happening, then I can move forward or I stop. I either move forward or I stop. And typically that's by the noon or the 2:15 time frame. So by that time, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I understand what's going on, right? And you guys know I don't mess around during low volume time frames, and you shouldn't either. So if you are holding a trade during those time frames and it is making you extremely profitable, even more so, all the more reason to say I'm gonna dial this in, because you shouldn't even be trading around that time, and you're still winning. So that'll tell you something right there. So you throttle yourself, number one, then you provide a checklist. So I provide a checklist for winning and a checklist for losing. So let's talk about the losing checklist. Let's say I'm in a trade and the trade reverses on me, and I'm not down for the day, but I'm down for the trade, and that trade may be starting to wash out the previous trade, right? Let's say the previous trade you made 5K, you're in a trade right now, and it goes negative on you 4,900, and it's getting ready to wash out the previous trade, right? All right. Well, the first thing I like to do personally is I'm going to assess the market. Remember, I never enter and exit on emotions, right? I want to assess the market. I'm looking for levels and et cetera, where volume is. And then as it comes close to the previous trade, I've got to cut it, because I don't want to give back any profits that I already don't want to give back any profits, but I certainly don't want to give up my win percentage for the day. Meaning if I've got one trade and the first trade may be 15K, the second trade, let's say the second trade is 5 to 7K, and then my third trade is a 4K loss, 5K loss. I'm not letting it go over that. I'm not letting it go over that because I want to make sure that I'm still in the right mindset and I do not like to trade from behind. Now, you can do that. You have to do that at some point in your life. You're going to run into a situation where you're like, man, I'm down and I want to come out the day green. So, and that has happened. And that happens periodically throughout the year. Let's be clear. All right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every single time I trade, every single day, that I'm always up. In fact, you guys have seen me. Very rarely you've seen me take 1-2 losses, first 2 trades. Like, man, what's going on here? It's odd, right? It's odd, isn't it? When you see that, you're like, oh, what's going on with KD? Trust me, I'm saying the same thing. Like, what's going on? Okay, hold on. And then I bristle up and I get after it, right? And we come out the day green. But it happens. And so I think someone in the Discord one time, and this was he doesn't know it, but this was one of the nicest compliments. I think it was Sir in the Discord. We were trading one day. This was like last year, earlier or something. And I had taken 2 losses out the gate, right? No winning trades, 2 losses in the beginning. And Sir said in the Discord, he said, all right, you guys buckle up because you're getting ready to see something real. You're getting ready to see really how to trade. Something to that effect. Now, I ended up coming out the day green that day, but I had to dial in and I went into a different zone to trade because I know when certain things happen, certain checklists are triggered. All right. And some of you guys are laughing. You may remember that. Yeah, I did. See, Sirius remembers that, right? And I went on a rip that day. Now, why was I able to do it? It does have to do with skill, yes, but you can do it too. The reality is I go into a disciplined mindset and I simply pull out the checklist that's appropriate for the time frame. So if I'm down 1 trade, 2 trade, 3 trade, I've got a checklist. What do you do? There are things that I do. So here's a secret. All right. It's not even a secret. Here's a tip. When I take a trade, my first 3 to 5 trades, sometimes 2, right? Sometimes 2. But typically in that first 3 trades a day, if you notice, I do the same thing, right? We've got the lo-fi going, but then I turn my lo-fi off and it doesn't come back on until what? I've got 3 trades accomplished. Have you noticed that pattern, right? Well, after I take those 3 trades and they're successful, I switch to zeros. If I take a trade in like the first trade or the second trade and they're not successful, it means I'm not reading the market correctly. It means I'm off mentally or technically, or something is missing. I'm missing something. So I immediately step back, I assess. And once I see and can read the market and have confidence that we're going to go somewhere, I do 2 things. Either I size up for shorter moves on shorter DTEs, or I wait for the move to manifest itself. I size up for long hold, right? And the idea here is I want my profits back. I want to get back to board. I'm not trying to make money. I'm just trying to get back to the baseline. That's it. See, the penalty for a poor entry and for loss is break even. That's the penalty. The penalty is not leave the day red. The penalty is not I got to just load up on this one little trade. No, the penalty is just get back to break even. Because when you get back to break even, your mind is at ease. It's just like the day has just started all over again. So that's my first step for me, these are just personal steps in my checklist when I'm down early on the day, or if I take a loss or something like that throughout the day to ensure I come out the day green, right? Another thing that I do is I pair it with another security. So I'm pairing my trade. I can easily make it up in the futures market or in some other way, right? So we don't talk about spreads a lot, but I could write some spreads. I could do that. The list goes on, and we'll talk about those things later. But these are hedging strategies that Wall Street uses, right? Wall Street's not going to trade a naked position. They're not just going to say, all right, dude, we're in calls. Let's put 20 billion. When we go up, we're going to make all this money. Yeah. Come on now. All right, dude, we're loading up on puts. This thing is going down to the basement. We're going to make a lot. No, man, there's multiple things that's happening. Multiple desks and analysts and groups trading different asset classes so that the bottom line works out. And so as we go into the next year, I'm going to teach you how to do that. But those are some strategies I use. So what have we learned so far? We've learned the overarching theme, the overarching driver is expectations. We're talking about gaining success, that you've been gaining success in your trading. Now what? Sometimes a loss is around the corner and then you get slapped down with a number of them. How do we make sure that doesn't happen? Expectations. Prepare for the loss. How do we do it? Number one, you throttle yourself daily. I don't care if you're ripping this thing. I don't care if you're winning. There was somebody in the Discord like a little while ago. I don't know who it was. I think it was, oh boy. I think it was LSG maybe was talking. Maybe we weren't talking here. We were talking like in the private channel, but about just a successful week and how her week has been going, just an incredible week. And she said, you know, I'm gonna throttle myself. I'm gonna take a day off or something to that effect. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to know yourself. All right. So throttle, number one. Checklist, number two. Number three is discipline. It's discipline. The word discipline simply means training. It simply means training. To discipline a child, to discipline an adult, to discipline ourselves is to train someone. That's it. It's to train them. So you have to get familiar with what it feels like and what it looks like to maintain a successful track record. Some people are surprised. Has it ever happened to you? You have a bunch of trades and you're like, man, I'm winning. You say it like it's a surprise. Are you surprised that you're winning? Well, you shouldn't be. It should be as a result. Okay, I'm winning because X, Y, Z. The same is true with losing. I'm losing because X, Y. Maybe you lack flexibility. Maybe you're not able to be flexible as the market changes, the ebbs and flows and all the peaks and valleys and all this stuff. And you're like, man, I can't adjust to this. Maybe you can't adjust to the low volume, and that's fine. Know yourself. Develop the discipline you need. How do you do it? Practice. Practice, practice, practice. All right? Practice and practice some more. Right? How do you practice? You can paper trade the Wealth Wells way. We discussed that in one of our frequently asked pages. So you can look there and say, well, how is KD? I'm not paper trading in a sim environment. I paper trade in live environments if I want to paper trade or show someone how to paper trade, right? We just scale down a little bit, and that's the cost of tuition, paper trading, right? You get the emotions involved, you get the feels, the correct feels, the correct entries. Everything is the same. The only difference is the risk size. But that's how you develop discipline, folks, all right? So just make sure that you're focused on the disciplines you need in order to be consistent. This thing is about a little bit of automation in your trading, a little bit of robotic nature in your trading, and that'll get you to where you need to be. The fourth thing, all right? The fourth thing is to figure out your trading routine. And that ties into a trade identity, but figure out your trading routine. Some of you guys are done by 10:15, 10 o'clock, 9:45. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's an effective trader. You got a routine every single day. Some of you guys are trading with full-time jobs and you want to learn how to day trade and you want to day trade effectively. And you say, well, I can only trade between, 2:05 and 3:05. That's fine. Nothing's wrong with that. Figure out your routine, right? Design a routine, right? So that you can stick to it no matter what. One of the best things that could have ever happened to me is that I've been able to trade in multiple environments that have provided challenges, right? Obviously, day trading full-time, that's an environment. Day trading full-time by yourself, obviously, it's an environment. Day trading full-time inside of a group, that's an environment, right? Day trading with a full-time job at the same time, I've done that in the past, that's an environment, right? All of these things present a level of challenges that you're going to need to overcome, and they're going to force you to develop a routine. And so a schedule, right? And so if you have a ironclad schedule routine, then you'll be able to identify any type of problems that arise. But more importantly, in harmony with this discussion, it will help you stay consistent. It will help you stay consistent, right? The fourth thing, or rather the fifth thing, could possibly be number one. And here's why I say this. It's because in day trading, when you've been winning for some time, this means you are improving your abilities. You're getting better at reading the market. You're getting better at executions. I mean, just the training is working. Now, I can't speak for any other training anywhere else, but when you come inside of the Wealth Wells Discord and you take the training and you actually apply what we're talking about, the proof is in the pudding, period. All those folks writing those testimonials aren't lying. All right, it's there. It works, period. When you start to layer on lagging indicators, when you start to disbelieve what we're teaching you, when you start to think that you know and you want to outsmart the market, then it starts to fail 100% of the time. I've told people this all the time. I'll say it again. Do not combine the system of VVP with anything else. It is fine by itself. And if you take all the trainings, you will see it also pulls the best from other setups that really work. So if you want to use, I just can't let this lagging indicator go, then I'll show you on a higher time frame in a different setup how you can get some data from it. That's it. Not trade with it. Get some data from it and then use the core system. But if you start trying to combine these things, the TTM squeeze and all this junk, I can't do nothing for it, and it's not going to work. So when you're trading and when you're hitting some successes, that's really in the mind, right? The only thing that's different, if you're gaining some success, if you're getting better, the only thing that's changing is your mind. That's the only thing. You're now saying to yourself, uh-oh, I'm doing too good. Uh-oh, I shouldn't be doing this good. It's because you don't really believe that the skills are working, or you don't really believe that you deserve to be successful at this. So I saved the fifth one for last, and I believe it may be the number one. The fifth one is the books that you read for your mind. You need to be constantly in an environment, in a mental state of progress. You need to constantly stay in a mental state of progress. So this means that the things that you take inside of your mind will dictate your behaviors. So if you're consistently working on not just the technicals, not just how you see the market, but how you feel about the market and your disciplines, then you're going to get better. I've seen many traders come inside of my Discord and leave and then blow up their accounts or fail or something else happens. And they thought when they left, I got it. They thought, all right, yeah, that works for him. But, for me, I'm going to do this, and then 1 year, 6 months, 8 months down the road, they may come back around and say, you know what? And that's just a knucklehead. And we've all been there. But the reality is, you've got to make sure that your mind stays sharp. So I'm going to give you a recommendation for a book that I absolutely love. I've read this book so many times, and I continue to read this book. It reminds me, and I'm going to give you one book to read, just one. I don't laundry list you because, some folks may not get to all of them. Just one book. And the one book that I recommend that any new trader reads is called One Good Trade by Mike Bellafiore. One Good Trade. I've recommended it before. I'll continue to recommend that book. Study that book. Learn that book. Master that book. Right? Now, there's others, and we'll go on as we do some more of these audio trainings. We'll help you with those, but master it. Know it. It'll help you. There's case studies in there of many different traders, and every one of those traders has gone through something you and I have gone through. And guess what? They're professional traders, and some didn't even work out. Same people, two eyes, same brain. Some didn't even work out, and they were professional traders. And you're going to see that they go through the same things you and I have gone through or currently go through. So read it. But the idea is to layer on books like that to improve the mind so that when you are reaching levels of success, number one, you expect it. You expect it. Number two, you have a plan for it. You're disciplined and you can get it done. All right. So we've talked about, our topic is I'm gaining success in my day trading. Now what? This is for anyone who has had some successful trades or successful days in the market, but soon after they give it all back or they run into a series of losses. How do you prevent this? What can you do if you're in this rut right now? The first thing, set proper expectations. You're not going to win every time. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to lose every time. It's not the end of the world. In doing that, you're going to have 5 guiding items that will help you along the way. Number 1, throttle yourself, either your trade frequency or your time. Number 2, have a checklist for winning and for losing. Number 3, develop discipline by practice every single day. Number 4, have a solid routine. Every single day, you do this same thing every day, trade the same time. And number 5, the mind. Stay in a constant state of progress. Do not go backwards. Stay in a constant state of progress. To do that, you've got to read the books that's out there. The book I recommended, One Good Trade. Excellent book, folks. Well, listen, it was a pleasure to speak with you today. Hopefully, this helped you in some way. This will be available on all podcast platforms in the future to help you get to the next level. I tell you, you can teach a person all the technicals. You can draw a bunch of triangles and breakout patterns on your screen. You can use every lagging indicator. But if you don't have the right mindset, I'm included in this statement as well. If we don't have the right mindset, we will fail. Put the work in and you'll get the results. All right, folks, it's been a pleasure. I'll get this posted for you at a later time. Let's keep crushing it. KD for the Wealth Wells, signing out.